Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Fanazasa. This is Battlefield 1. In today's weapon review, we're going to be taking a closer look at the Lebel Model 1886 Sniper. When we're talking about its base stats and attributes, how it performs on the battlefield, how you can get the most out of this weapon, as well as, of course, how it compares to some of the competing sniper rifles out there available to the Recon class in Battlefield 1. Before we get into the stats of the weapon in question, however, let's talk about how to unlock it. This is relatively simple. You're going to have to get within one round 5 headshots with the Russian 1895 sniper rifle, and you're going to have to get 10 periscope spot assists. This, however, is not connected to the Russian 1895 sniper quest, so you can do this in a different round or over multiple rounds. It adds up slowly over time. It's relatively easy, and you'll have this done within a couple of minutes. Once you then have the weapon, well, what is it capable of doing? Starting off then with the stats of the weapon, it has a sweet spot damage model, which is to say a one-shot potential at a certain distance. In the case of the Lebel Model, this is between 50 and 87.5 meters, making it once more one of the medium range sweet spot damage models, those of course being the more useful ones, at least in my experience. Moving on then to the fire rate of the weapon, relatively fast for sniper rifles at 56 rounds per minute. Definitely can compete with something like the Russian 1895 sniper. Its muzzle velocity, on the other hand, is on the slower end for sniper rifles, nevertheless a very competent one at 720 meters per second. It comes with a relatively large magazine of 8, only beat out by the SMLE MK3 in the case of the sniper rifles in Battlefield 1. However, as somewhat of a consequence of having this large magazine size, it comes with the worst reload for all sniper rifles in Battlefield 1. Spare, of course, the Martini Henry, which is of course still worse. Now, calculating reload times in Battlefield 1 is a little bit more complex, obviously, so in this case I've got you the times for one bullet and for all 8 of the bullets. In the case of one bullet, you're gonna have to reload for 4.8 seconds, which is of course absolutely horrible and especially impactful on your game when you're trying to use K bullets, which of course you have to reload bullet for bullet, meaning every time you want to fire off a K bullet, you've got close to a 5-second reload between firing off your next one. Now, reloading all 8 bullets doesn't take comparatively as long at 7.8 seconds. It's still a very long reload, but what this essentially means is, in the case of the Lebel Model, you usually don't reload after 1 or 2 bullets. You only reload when you're close to empty or when there's a clear break in combat. However, given that this is a sniper rifle and certainly want one to be used exclusively or for extremely aggressive recon play, it's not really too much of a hindrance to the weapon. It is more of a nuisance, and if you are a user of K bullets, as I am myself, it is actually a hindrance to using that gadget. Having covered the stats, then how does the weapon perform in practice? Numbers can only tell you so much, so here I am to tell you about my experiences with the rifle. Well, it's a competent sniper rifle, it's relatively reliable, and its sweet spot damage model is one that you can actually use. It's not the largest sweet spot damage model out there, with only 37.5 meters within which you can actually one-shot hit your targets, but it is one that you can nevertheless make use of, and I found myself, without actually deliberately trying to go for sweet spot kills, getting quite a few one-shot body shot kills which I wasn't expecting, playing a good bit of old operations on various new and old maps, which means in that case of course that the Lebel Model suits my personal playstyle and my preferred engagement distance for sniper rifles. That's not to say it will necessarily suit your playstyle or preferred engagement distance for sniper rifles. That is something you have to figure out for yourself, where you prefer to snipe. However, the distances I usually snipe at, the medium long range with a little bit of aggressive play depending on, seem to prove me with the opportunity plentiful to actually get on objectives from time to time and help out my team. So how does it compare with some of the other sniper rifles then? If it's just a sniper rifle and it does its job, it's difficult to say it's bad or good, other than of course its obvious hindrance in using K bullets because of the long reload. Well, compared to something like the SMLE MK Marksman, it looks relatively similar. They have relatively similar muzzle velocities, relatively similar fire rates, relatively similarly large magazine size. The key difference here being of course that the SMLE not only has a different sweet spot, one more focused for close quarter, but it also has a much quicker reload and is definitely the more aggressive of the two. So if you are using the SMLE MK3 Marksman now and are looking for a weapon that is just as aggressive, if not more aggressive, the Lebel Model is definitely not it. What about the Russian 1895 sniper then? Once again, a very similar weapon. In this case, a fire rate of 56, identical, a damage model that is a little bit further field, between 60 and 100 meters and just slightly bigger, but nevertheless relatively similar. A little bit of a smaller magazine size, however, a quicker reload and a better muzzle velocity. Well, the Lebel Model is slightly more aggressive, slightly more close quarter than the Russian, and will allow you to take out a few more targets before engaging in that reload. However, that reload will take you longer. So is one of these two truly better at maybe medium range or closer to the medium range than long range? It's difficult to say. One of them can fire more bullets before reloading, the other one is going to take longer to actually reload. So in the end, it's really kind of a one-on-one. There's no real gain to be had there. The advantage that the Russian 1895 of course does have, and the one that will actually maybe impact performance, is the muzzle velocity, which is higher. However, an argument can be made in favor of the Lebel that, well, at the distances that you should be engaging with the Lebel, arguably also the Russian, which is of course in medium-long range, well, you don't need that fast of a muzzle velocity. You're going to be hitting your targets fast enough anyway, and well, then the higher muzzle velocity doesn't really benefit the weapon just as much. And that argument is fair if you're going for the sweet spot damage model kills. If you're using your sniper rifle just as a sniper rifle and not choosing your sniper rifle based on its sweet spot or which combat distance it really is geared for, that argument of course becomes weaker. So in conclusion, well, this weapon is definitely a competent one. The Lebel Model fits in nicely between the SMLE and the Russian, and for some people it will actually fill a gap between these two weapons. Whether or not I'm convinced yet that it is the sniper rifle to go for, I'm not quite sure yet. It is, however, definitely not inferior to any of the other sniper rifles out there, and I think fits nicely into the lineup of the current sniper rifles available. With that being said, however, I'd like to know about your experiences with the Lebel Model 1886. Have you found it to be your new favorite sniper rifle, or is it just one of those things, well, you unlocked it, you used it a couple of times, and then went back to using the SMLE or the Russian? I'd also, of course, like to hear your future video suggestions for Battlefield 1 videos down below in the comments. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 1 video.